the merchant right, which is what we have, regrettably, online. It is ghettoized more and more every day. The peer-to-peer communication prior to 2025 that was such a boon to our people come to an end, as I said at the beginning of 2025. And we're seeing a brand new monster that is coming really into vision for even the most benighted and purblind people. And that is the merchant right that is led by the most vociferous in their audience, which means total control by the anti-whites. I'm going to say it again. The merchant right makes their living off of eyeballs. And eyeballs is determined by reputation. If you've worked in business, if you've worked selling products, you know your reputation when it comes to sales and eyeballs is the most important thing there is. It's infinitely more important than your product or service. I know that sounds nuts, but that's the truth. It's infinitely more important than the product or service. And indeed, you can see that with the merchant right, that they're not selling anything that's going to benefit you individually or our people collectively, and therefore our countries. So since their reputation as merchants on the right is so important, is the most important thing, the vociferous, the clamorous, the pugnacious members of their audience who will either, let's say, maybe put it this way. I was trying to look at a way to do parallel words. They can inflame people positively for you, or they can defame you in the public eye. And if that angry, vociferous, loud part of the audience doesn't get their way, they will defame you. They will tell people, the content creators, don't watch this person for X, Y, or Z reasons. And if enough of their audience is composed of paycucks on the right, misfits, etc., if enough of their audience is composed of that, which the group of people we're talking about, their audiences are, they have to obey them. And you can see so many manifestations of that. I mean, a really nonsensical interview recently, really nonsensical, is a perfect manifestation of control of the content creator by way of the audience. So if the audience is able to control the content creator, the anti-whites will have been there from the moment the control started. The moment that there was a fulcrum of control. It wouldn't take a year. It wouldn't take 6 months for them to say, hey, I got an idea. It would be instantaneous. They would be there in those audiences to manipulate those content creators. And in what direction? Naturally, in a destructive direction. That's why there is no interest whatsoever in programs and practices here that have proven repeatedly to improve the lives of actual white people who can speak to that improvement. There is no interest because the merchant content creators are driven by anti-whites in their audience. And it's either anti-white because they're starting in an anti-white place, they're anti-whites naturally, or it's anti-white in outcome because they're misfit white people. They don't care about the rest of us. They don't care what happens to this woman, except to be able to say, well, a white woman was raped, damn enners. They don't care. So these people, led then by anti-whites, what can we predict now about the merchant right? What will the merchant right look like in the immediate future? What will it look like in the intermediate future? What will it look like in the distal future? What will the merchants on the right, what will they look like? It's a pretty easy prediction, isn't it? You'll be able to see how accurate my words are as month goes by, And you see increasingly the worst elements, the worst ideas, the most destructive brought to the surface. Literally digging into the swine at the very bottom of the worst white people in ostensible or claimed activity for the good of our people. You'll see more and more of this, the laudation of those people. There's another wrinkle to the merchant right. It's not white. Oh, there are going to be plenty of them that will say, for the white race, I want to live in a white town. I want to work with white people. I want to be able to go to the mall and see nothing but white people. In excuse, you'll continue to hear that. That too, though, will slowly diminish. But in excuse, you'll continue to hear that. But this audience of the merchant right is growing with non-white mestizos, non-white Arabs. I guess all of them are non-white. But is growing in non-whites. And they almost entirely present as white people online. We've found a limitless number. Every time we look, we find another. And we're not the only community. There are many. Martinez Clips talking about how it's everywhere. All of these, he's got a word in Spanish for them. These non-white Hispanics, Fuenteses. He's got a word for them, and it's a nice word for them. And they show up and they are LARPing as white people. And how are they going to behave? What is their motivation? Well, of course, not all of any of these groups, but a percentage of these groups do something that is laudable. And that is that they endeavor to achieve individual well-being by way of their group's well-being. So when they show up in the pro-white, which is really now the merchant right, when they show up over there in these audiences, what are they going to argue for? What have they been arguing for? I mean, just over the past 7 years, streaming, 8 years, we've watched this balloon, the numbers of these people, balloon. What is a white LARPing non-white Hispanic? What is a white LARPing Arab? What is a white LARPing Black going to be arguing for in the merchant right? Well, their people's interest. Who do they see as an adversary for their people and therefore them individually? Naturally, they're going to look out at the world and they're going to see the success of Jewish people working together and achieving success for each other and their people. Again, not all of them, but a percentage of them do this, engage in this wonderful behavior, working together. And they say, that's an impediment to my people and their domination and therefore my enrichment. So a Black nationalist LARPing as a white guy in the merchant right audience is going to push anti-Jewish sentiment. What is he going to do when you show up and you say, we need to be focusing on white people? We need to be focusing on being a people, coming together as whites. Would that benefit his people for white people to do that? Not in his eyes. Not in his eyes. Not in the eyes of a white LARPing Arab. Not in the eyes of a non-white Hispanic LARPing or white LARPing non-white Hispanic. They're not going to see you coming together, white people coming together, forming a people as a benefit to them. And many of them want to have sex with white women. I mean, let's just be frank. That's the reality. And white people coming together, deciding that we're a glorious people, that we should defend each other, that we should make more of us, means that fewer white women are going to be on the market for blacks, Arabs, Hispanics, Asians, whatever. So they're not going to like that idea from that perspective. They're not going to like the idea from their perspective that if the white race gets healthy again, well, that's going to be worse than the Jews. So they're going to attack you. They're going to attack you in the guise of a white nationalist, LARPing as a white nationalist in the merchant right, demanding that you are shut down. What are they going to say to the content creators, the merchants? They're going to say, I want to hear less from the no white guilt guy. What do you need to hear to not interview, to not have a conversation with the Go Free people? Because whatever I think you need to hear, I'll tell you. Not only that, but if you have a conversation with the Go Free people, I'll tell everybody you're a Jew. I'll tell everybody you're a Fed. I'll tell people you molest koalas. And the merchant right hears it. They hear it loud and clear. What do they say to you? They slander you. They attack you. They say you need to be a noticer, because being a noticer, being antagonistic toward Jews, will help, in their mind, the black nationalist community, will help the non-white Hispanic community, will help the Asian community in their minds. Getting your white ass to fight for them and their communities is obviously their objective. And that means preventing you from fighting for your white community in whatever way that they can exert that influence to prevent that from happening. This is the reality that we have to contend with. We're going to see in the coming future dust-ups in this multiracial anti-Jew community, because different non-white groups, as we are more and more white erased in our countries and regions of our countries, different non-white groups that are participating in this will, to various degrees, see not just maybe the Jews, but maybe the Hispanics will see the blacks, or the blacks will see the Hispanics as a problem and a roadblock to the domination by their people and therefore the enrichment of themselves. But that'll largely be kept under the rug, because the force of the common problem will continue to be pressed into their faces. And they'll continue to look again and again, the Hispanics. It's not the blacks who are working together at Harvard or at the World Economic Forum or whatever. And so they'll be brought together again under this nefarious endeavor of LARPing as whites to recruit white people to fight for black empowerment. LARPing as whites to recruit white people, to recruit them to fight for non-white Hispanic empowerment, and so on. That's the audience of the merchant right. You can expect the whims, the judgments, the motivation of such individuals to drive the content creators that survive, pay their bills, and maybe fabulously, maybe they're not just making rent, but maybe it's the next fancy car that they want to buy with all the money coming in. This extends, of course, primarily through the explicit, so racial conscious creators, but also into the implicit. In these communities, I'm sure you all have witnessed, when you look at these audience, when you look across Gab, when you look across X, you see a lot of people with bad characters, a lot of people that aren't good folks, They're not the kind of people that you would want to live next door when you're honest with yourself. The reality is that the kind of people that are on, who are not like swashing like we do, the kind of people that are regularly on social media are not the producers, the builders, the electricians, the doctors, these people that are showing up all the time work at Jiffy Lube, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But you know the difference. You get my vibe. And the moment they get an opportunity, they take their 5 feet 6 inches, 100-pound ass out back, and they've got a cigarette and chewing tobacco in, and they're typing away on that filthy phone that has cracks running all through the glass of it, telling you how you are a traitor and you're garbage, and what you're advocating in service to white well-being is a diversion from the real problems. Meanwhile, the manager calls them in and says, look, I was just looking at your paperwork 6 months ago when you got employed. You misspelled your own name. So we need to appreciate that we, like at the church, are fishers of men and women, the good people like ourselves, who show up briefly here and there, who show up, something bad happens in their lives. Maybe they don't get that promotion that they deserved at work because they're white. It's a white erased promotion. And then they show up. They go on the internet and they're like, I'm pissed. What's going on? I'm going to make time to get onto the internet. They get on their phone. What's going on? We need to be there for them. We need to appreciate when we're swashing that, regrettably, most of the people we're going to come across are no good sons of bitches, to put it like we do down home. We need to appreciate that. And when we come across them, just move right past them. Because there are going to be quality white men and women of all ages, very young men and women as well, that are going to see what we have to share. They're either going to adopt a concept or two or more and take it into their lives, which is fabulous. Maybe they'll pursue more and they'll want to come and look more deeply. Maybe they'll come all the way to wanting to be a hero of the West in the House of Swash. We are fishing on social media for the best of our people. We're not trying to persuade sick, demented misfits to do the right thing. Now, we will be there for anybody who wants to take a step up in their life and in their world and wants to do better. Absolutely. That's what we do. We care about white people. But debating with the fools is a perfect waste of time, and we're running out of time. So we are there to find the quality people when they swing through. And I've said it before. I said it years ago. I said it back during the divorce, that one of the things that so many of these content creators and organization leaders, one of the things that they hate most of all about me and us here in the House of Swash, all of you, is that we take the good people, the smart people, the talented people, the law-abiding people, the moral people, the ethical people, the family people. We take them all out of their communities. They lose everything that could be productive. And then they're left with the losers. And they hate that. Because the losers can't pay as much. Because the losers don't have great ideas for how to improve things that they can steal from the bright people of our race. So that's what we need to keep in mind. The merchant right is a real thing. They're not in service to our well-being, no matter how many times they say it. Now, there's going to be a place for people, content creators that are going to deliver news. We need that to happen. There's going to be a place for people to talk about history and philosophy and educate in these ways. We need that to happen. But you'll be able to know whether they are merchant or revolutionary by how they treat the victories in white well-being. You'll be able to see the difference right then. Now, it doesn't mean that if they go bad once, they're always bad, but we can measure them at any point. Does improving the lives of white people, individually, in their family circles, with their loved ones, at work, with their health, does achieving the big successes that we've had relative to mainstream media outlets with the same tools that are replicable and scalable by our entire people, does that matter to them? Because if it does, if they're willing to take a hit because it actually is important to do good for white people, well, maybe they're not a merchant. But if they're not, then by my measurement, they're firmly merchants. And I have to say, so many of them spend so much of their life and time living in the story of the Jews as the villain of the Jews, that I think that term is apropos for all time.